Hey guys, it's Corey again. Today we are going to go over mortgage lenders as a potential client for Air. I'm looking at some of the details of just kind of doing some pre-game work here with what would a mortgage lender be interested in? How could we deploy agents in the mortgage lending space? I'm going to be talking to a mortgage lender tomorrow, so I am doing the kind of the pregame work here, just digging into what we could possibly do for them and how it could work. So let me collapse some of these so we don't have so much noise on the screen. And this is just where I've gotten so far. I think I'm pretty fairly prepared for tomorrow, just initial calls. So learning a little something about what they do and how they work. Um, so this is some stuff that we kind of dug up off the internet, and what we're looking at is really we need to identify the pain points, and can those pain points be solved by deploying air agents on either inbound calls, which we didn't have. We've got, I guess this particular one had the mortgage processor type, yeah, mortgage processing or application, kind of application. I'll say that application processing there. This one was a little bit unclear whether or not this probably does require a license to be able to do that, and I think it would I don't know. I'm not sure, so that's one of the questions I'm going to have to ask tomorrow. So trying to identify which ones of these things may or may not require a license, which ones could be done by the agents. So another option was outbound calling, and we looked at cold calling, which they do in the mortgage business quite a little bit. The leads need to be opted in, and then what would the scripts be, and how would those work? How would we control the content? Control the content and control um, control questions that could potentially get we can't, no license can be required. So anyhow, we want to control the questions too. If we get asked a question, we want to make sure that we don't answer something that is non-compliant. So maintaining compliance through the scripts and through the knowledge base. So that's kind of some of the cold calling and the inbound calling too. We would want to control the question so that if a question is asked in a field that needs, or in an area that needs a licensed individual to answer that question, it would have to defer to that licensed individual and either try to do a hot transfer over, or book an appointment at that point to answer that specific question. Another thing is, do they use call centers? And I guess they do use call centers. So one of the things you could improve there is the fact that call center has a noisy background. And that is something that key people into the fact that they have reached a call center, they're being read a script, they're being, given some, just not necessarily unique or individual treatment. So some other tips there are connection delays, and then the immediate phone call after filling out a form would be another option. So we could, kind of manage some of that with certainly connection delays, but this immediate phone call after filling out a form, you do want to connect with the client when they're looking. And so, that was a complaint some people had with respect to call centers. So that's kind of some of the use cases here for the outbound. Sending applications. So that's a back end automation. So would we be able to send an application out for somebody to fill out? It would be that form or a link to a form that is all compliant and all completely wrapped around the compliance requirements, or the compliance requirements wrapped around it. Let's look here. Okay. So yeah, some of the other applications that we could see were education, payment and account management. So possibly processing payments. The ability, some integrations there back and forth. Did this payment get through? Oh, I see the payment, that kind of thing. We don't know what requirements there are for licensing in that case. I know that mortgage lenders have, quite a bit of licensing requirement. Pre-approval process, possibly. Not sure. That deals a little bit more with the specific information of the individual. Application assistance, again, we talked about that over here. Maybe, filling that out. Lead gen and qualification. This is an area that I think has some potential from just lead generation and booking appointments. So these would be appointment centers. And they would have some very top level qualification requirements, like what's your credit score, what's your potential monthly payment you could pay, or something like that, if you're looking for to get a loan. Possibly something there, but a lot of the questions would have to be deferred to the meeting. We'll have to get you set up with a meeting, somebody that can answer that question for you. Customer service and support. So these could be an inbound, and I'll put that over here. And support. So that, customer service and support is definitely a possibility for inbound. And that would have no opt-in requirements. And this would be that would have no opt-in requirements because they're calling you. So those are another area that you could potentially apply Air voice AI agents. Roles. So these roles, I went to a couple websites and looked at the positions that they're posting for, to hire. They're trying to hire people, and just to see what those roles did, what the requirements were for that. One of them that they had a lot of was a loan officer outside sales, and this is an agent. This is a loan officer that is required to develop clients and more reaching out to people. They're probably going to be cold calling. There's probably a fair amount of cold calling in this role. The only question is, what portion of this could we do? Could we put an agent to, after somebody opts in, for instance, we put an agent on the front end of that process to make sure that they've got a good lead and they're not just tire kickers, and just take workload off of this loan officer and get them working only with the prospects that are actually ready to and capable of moving forward. Business development associate. This was an interesting one. This is for hiring people for the mortgage lender business. So they had there listed some of the skills required for this business development associate was the ability to talk to people on the phone, explain the options and benefits and pieces of the business that they could participate in if they're going to be a mortgage loan officer, outside sales loan officer. I imagine these guys are calling these guys quite a little bit to get them hired, get them to come on board in some way, somehow. So these people, you'd have to know that these people were in the business, that they were the right type of person, that they had some basic qualifications, desires to be in these positions, but they would be explaining roles that are at the mortgage lending business and what the employment opportunities were, and trying to qualify them on that. So I think that's another potential role, and that's a little different. That's for hiring, bringing people in, HR style hiring. And yeah, we just had offers where reverse mortgage was one that is pretty popular right now. The reverse, regular, I would just say a regular mortgage too, right? Regular residential. Regular residential mortgage are probably one of the more common. That's really what they're dealing with is residential mortgages, or at least that's what I'm going to talk to as a residential mortgage lender. I'm sure they can do other things, but their primary focus is that, and reverse mortgage is one of the key things that they're currently advertising. So I think that kind of covers some of the analysis or thought behind where you could apply or deploy Air.ai voice agents to mortgage lenders in the mortgage lending industry. And I will have a call tomorrow with the potential client and see what he has to say if my research is lined up with his experience. Anyway, that's all I have for today, and I will talk to you later.